Most people go through life hoping somebody will tap them on the shoulder and say, "Hey, we've been watching you, and we think you're special." Let me tell you something. That tap on the shoulder, it's not coming. Not because you're not worthy, not because you don't have talent, but because you haven't yet become the kind of person that makes the tap unnecessary. See, the tap doesn't come to people who are waiting for it. The tap comes to people who are so busy becoming excellent that they forgot to wait. See, here's what I've learned after all these years of studying success, studying human behavior, studying the marketplace. The world doesn't reward potential. The world rewards performance. The world rewards results. The world rewards value. And if you're sitting around waiting for somebody to discover you, you're going to be waiting a very long time, because the world is not in the business of discovering people. The world is in the business of recognizing people who have already discovered themselves. Now, that's a thought worth writing down. The world doesn't discover you. The world recognizes what you've already become. There's a big difference between those two things. One requires you to sit and wait. The other requires you to get up and work. And I can tell you which one pays better. I used to be one of those people. I used to think the problem was out there. I used to think if only I had a better boss, if only I had more opportunity, if only somebody would just give me a chance, everything would change. I was 25 years old, broke, behind on my promises, behind on my bills, and full of excuses. I had a whole list of reasons why life wasn't working. And then my mentor, Mr. Earl Schoaf, sat me down and said something that rearranged my whole philosophy. He said, "Jim, if you want things to change, you've got to change. If you want things to get better, you've got to get better. If you want things to improve, you've got to improve. It's not what happens that determines your life. It's what you do about what happens. That one evening, that one conversation started a whole new chapter for me, and it can start one for you too, if you let it." Now see, up until that point, I thought my circumstances were the problem. I thought not having money was a problem. Schoaf said, no, not having money isn't the problem. The problem is the lack of an idea on how to create money and wealth. That one distinction changed my life. And it can change yours too. Because the moment you stop blaming the outside and start building the inside, everything shifts. The marketplace starts paying attention. People start noticing. Doors start opening. Not because the doors changed, but because you changed. And that's the first lesson I want you to carry with you. You don't get noticed by accident. You get noticed on purpose. By becoming so valuable, so skilled, so excellent at what you do, that ignoring you becomes impossible. That's not arrogance. That's philosophy. That's understanding how the marketplace works. The marketplace pays for value, always has, always will. And if you're not getting paid what you want, if you're not getting the recognition you think you deserve, the question isn't, what's wrong with the world? The question is, what's missing in me? Now, see, that's a tough question. Most people don't want to ask it, but the few who do, those are the ones who change everything. Let me tell you a story. Years ago, I knew a young man who worked at a factory. Nothing special about his position, nothing special about his pay. He was one of about 200 people doing the same job, earning the same wage, going through the same motions day after day. Same lunch break, same parking lot, same time clock. 200 people with the same opportunity. But here's what was different about this young man. While everybody else went home after work and turned on the television, he went home and turned on his mind. He read books. He studied his craft. He asked questions that nobody else was asking. He stayed late, not because somebody told him to, but because he was building something inside himself that he knew would eventually show up on the outside. He wasn't working for overtime pay. He was working for overtime growth. Within 2 years, this man was running the department. Within 5 years, he was running the company. And everyone around him said, boy, he sure got lucky. Lucky? Let me tell you about luck. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. And this man had been preparing while everybody else had been complaining. He didn't get lucky. He got ready. And when the opportunity showed up, he was the only one equipped to grab it. The other 199 people had the same opportunity sitting right in front of them, but they weren't ready for it. They hadn't prepared for it. They hadn't invested in themselves, so the opportunity came and went, and they never even saw it. That's not bad luck. That's bad preparation. That's what happens when you work harder on your excuses than you do on your skills. That's not luck. That's design. That's what happens when you work harder on yourself than you do on your job. See, here's a principle I wish somebody had taught me when I was 25 years old. You don't get paid for the hour. You get paid for the value you bring to the hour. Now that changes everything, doesn't it? Because if you get paid for the hour, the most you can do is put in more hours. But if you get paid for the value you bring to the hour, now you can multiply your income without multiplying your time. How? By becoming more valuable, by knowing more, by developing more skill, by being able to solve problems that other people can't solve. I asked Schoaf one time. I said, Mr. Schoaf, how do I make more money? He said, Jim, become more valuable. I said, well, how do I become more valuable? He said, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. I said, but I'm already working hard on my job. He said, that's the problem. You're working hard on your job and hardly working on yourself. If you worked on yourself as hard as you work on your job, you'd double your income in a year. And you know what? He was right, because within a year, my income had more than doubled, not because the economy changed, not because I got a better territory, but because I became a better me. That's what most people miss. They're so busy working on the job that they forget to work on the person doing the job. And the person doing the job determines the quality of the job. If you bring more value to the hour pays more. It's that simple. The marketplace doesn't care about your excuses. The marketplace doesn't care about your circumstances. The marketplace doesn't care how long you've been doing it or how hard you think you've been trying. The marketplace cares about one thing and one thing only. What can you do for me? And if your answer to that question keeps getting better, your income, your recognition, your influence, they all keep getting better too. That's not opinion. That's economic law. Now, success is something you attract, not something you pursue. I know that sounds strange, but think about it. Really think about it. The most successful people I've ever met were not the ones chasing success. They were the ones chasing excellence. They were the ones chasing mastery. They were the ones so focused on becoming great at their craft that success had no choice but to chase them. They weren't looking over their shoulder wondering when recognition would come. They were too busy getting better. And that's a philosophy that'll serve you well for the rest of your life. Stop chasing recognition. Start chasing excellence. And recognition will chase you. It has to. That's how the marketplace works. Now, let's talk about what this looks like in real life. Because philosophy is wonderful, but philosophy without action is just entertainment. You can sit in a seminar all day long, take beautiful notes, nod your head at all the right moments. But if you walk out and don't do anything different tomorrow morning, what was the point? You entertained yourself with good ideas. That's all. You've got to put this to work. And putting it to work starts with your daily habits. Here's what I've found after years of studying both successful people and unsuccessful people. It's not what you do once in a while that shapes your life. It's what you do every single day. The daily disciplines, the small, seemingly insignificant things you do consistently over time, Those are what create the big results. And those are also what most people ignore. Let me give you a simple one. Reading, 30 minutes a day. That's all I'm asking. 30 minutes a day of something positive, something instructional, something that challenges you to think differently. You say, Jim, 30 minutes? That's nothing. Exactly. It's so simple that most people won't do it. But let me show you the math. 30 minutes a day, over the course of a year, that's roughly 20 books. 20 books in 1 year. Can you see how that might give you an edge? Can you see how that might separate you from the crowd? Now do that for 5 years. That's 100 books. You don't think 100 books will change your income? You don't think 100 books will change your ability? You don't think 100 books will make you so knowledgeable, so resourceful, so valuable that people can't help but notice you? Of course they will. 100 books will make you an expert. 100 books will make you dangerous in the marketplace. 100 books will give you ideas and vocabulary and perspective that most people will never have simply because they chose television over education. But here's the problem. The things that are easy to do are also easy not to do. And that's what separates the successful from the unsuccessful. Not talent, not intelligence, not opportunity. Not connections, discipline. The discipline to do the simple things consistently. The discipline to read when you could be watching television. The discipline to practice when you could be relaxing. The discipline to study when nobody is making you study. The discipline to get up early when nobody would know if you slept in. That's where the magic is. Not in the big dramatic moments. In the small, quiet, daily decisions that nobody sees. The decisions you make between 6 in the evening and midnight, that's where your future is being built. What are you doing with those hours? Are you investing them or are you spending them? Because there's a big difference between the two. Did you know that all of the successful people I work with around the world, they're all good readers? Curiosity drives them to read. They've got to know. They just read, 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 read. They become self-educated. See? Standard education will get you standard results. And you can check those numbers and see if that's what you want. But if you want to go beyond standard, if you want extraordinary, you've got to become self-educated. One way to learn is from your own experience, sure. But another way to learn is from other people's experience. And see, one book might save you 5 years if you read it. Did you know there are books on how to be stronger, more decisive, how to be a better speaker, a better leader? Did you know hundreds of successful people have written down exactly how they did it, and people don't read them? How would you explain that? Now, reading is one thing, but let me give you another discipline that'll accelerate everything. Get around successful people and listen. You can learn so much just by being in the right room. Poor people ought to take rich people out to dinner and listen. Now, I know that sounds funny. The guy says, he's rich, let him buy his own dinner. I'm not coming up with any money. And the guy is behind. See, if a man is not doing well, one of the first things he ought to do is find a man that is doing well and offer to buy him dinner. Spend 50, spend 60, spend 80, $100. Go for the full 9 courses. If you can get a successful person to eat and talk for 2 hours, they're liable to drop ideas in your lap that could change your life. Multiply your income by 2, by 3, by 5. But you're right, poor people don't usually take rich people out to dinner, and that's part of why they stay poor. Here's the third discipline. Observe. You can pick up a lot of ideas just by watching. Get around successful people and watch. Here's why. Success leaves clues. Watch how the man shakes hands. Watch how the lady responds. People who do well do certain things over and over and over. And if you're clever, you can pick them up. Watch it all. If a man is making $10,000 a month, I'd watch how he walks. Maybe that's it. I haven't got the money yet, but I've got the walk. It's bound to start somewhere. Be a good observer of what's going on around you. And remember, there are two ways to see. One is called sight. You see with your eyes. The other is called insight. You see with your mind. See with your eyes and you'll see things. See with your mind and you'll see answers. Put your eyes and your mind to work. Pay attention. Don't miss anything. Wherever you are, be there. Now here's the real key to discipline. Start with the little disciplines. Don't try to change everything overnight. Get excited over the little disciplines and get right on those, because those will lead to the big ones. You can't handle the big challenges in life unless you take on the little ones first. Make a list of everything you can do, get right on those, discipline yourself for those, both for the results and for the muscle and for the practice, so that when life hands you some big challenges, you'll be ready. You'll have the muscle. But see, if you don't handle the small ones, you'll never be ready for the big ones. And here's what else it takes. Self-motivation. I don't know why we call it self-motivation. It's really the only kind there is. You've got to motivate yourself, and you don't want to give self-motivation away to somebody else and make it somebody else motivating you. The guy says, boy, if somebody would just come by and turn me on. What if they don't show up? What if they're busy turning on somebody else? What if they've got their own problems? See, you've got to have a better plan for your life than that. The fire's got to come from inside. The ambition has got to come from inside. The decision to be excellent, to be remarkable, to be undeniable, that's got to come from inside you. Nobody else can make that decision for you. And once you make it, once you truly commit to it with everything you've got, the whole world rearranges itself to accommodate your commitment. I've seen it happen too many times to doubt it. Now let me wrap this up with something important, because I don't want you to leave here with just ideas. Ideas without action are worthless. Don't let your learning lead to knowledge. You'll become a fool. Let your learning lead to action, and you can become wealthy. And there are many kinds of wealth. I understand that. Not just money. Money is one of the least of all values. I know some people with a lot of money who are very poor. Real wealth is what you become in the process of creating value for others. Here's what I want you to understand about becoming so good they can't ignore you. It's not just about you. It's never just about you. When you commit to excellence, when you commit to becoming the best version of yourself, you create a ripple effect that touches everyone around you. Your family watches. Your children watch. Your friends watch. Your colleagues watch. And when they see you transforming, when they see you growing, when they see you becoming somebody who commands attention not through noise but through results, something happens in them too. They start to believe that maybe they could do it. Maybe they could change. Maybe they could become more. See, one person's commitment to excellence can change a family. One person's decision to be remarkable can change a community. One person's refusal to settle for average can inspire a generation. That's the power of what we're talking about tonight. This isn't just about getting a promotion. This isn't just about making more money. This isn't just about your name on an office door or a title on a business card. This is about becoming the kind of human being who elevates everyone around them simply by being who they are. That's legacy. That's significance. That's what lasts long after the money is spent and the trophies are dusty. Money you can lose, titles they can take away, but who you've become, that belongs to you forever. And what you've inspired in others, that belongs to eternity. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Jim, that sounds wonderful, but you don't know my situation. You don't know where I come from. You don't know what I'm dealing with, and you're right. I don't know your specific situation. But I do know this. I've seen people with less than you have, with bigger obstacles than you face, with fewer advantages than you've been given, who decided one day to change everything, and they did. Not because their circumstances changed, but because they changed. They change their thinking first, then their habits, then their skills, then their results. The circumstances caught up later. They always do. Because here's something fascinating about life. Life has a way of matching your circumstances to your personal development. If you grow, your circumstances grow. If you don't grow, your circumstances don't grow. It's almost mathematical. Income rarely exceeds personal development. Oh, sure, sometimes income takes a lucky jump. But unless you grow out to where it is, it'll usually come back to where you are. Life has strange ways. And I know the path of excellence can be lonely sometimes. Not everybody is going to understand why you're reading instead of watching television. Not everybody is going to understand why you're studying instead of socializing. Not everybody is going to understand why you're investing in yourself instead of spending on entertainment. Let them wonder. Let them question. Let them even doubt you. Because here's the truth that I've seen play out 1,000 times. Someone is always watching. Even when you think nobody sees you, someone is watching. And when you've become so good, so valuable, so undeniable that your work, your character, and your results speak louder than any advertisement ever could, they will have no choice but to notice you. Don't try to beat the system. Don't look for shortcuts. Don't try to slice it or shade it or cut corners, looking for cheap answers. Some people learn just enough to start cutting corners, thinning it, shading it, looking for the easy way. Don't fall for that. You'll wind up with a cheap life. Find out how excellence works and do it that way. Even though it seems to take a little longer, do it right. Don't compromise with right. The man who cuts corners today builds a house that crumbles tomorrow. But the man who does it right, who lays every brick with care, who refuses to skip a single step, that man builds something that stands for a lifetime. So if I had a word with you tonight, one-on-one, just you and me, I think my personal advice to you would be this. Starting right now, tonight, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, reach down inside of you and come up with some more of those remarkable human gifts. They're there, waiting to be utilized, waiting to be developed, waiting to be unleashed on a world that is desperate for people of excellence. What are you going to do starting tomorrow that will make a change in your life's direction? Good question. What are you going to do that will make a difference? What book are you going to pick up? What skill are you going to develop? What habit are you going to start? What excuse are you finally going to let go of? Because, see, if you don't do something starting tomorrow that will make a difference, guess what? It's going to be the same. And that way you can guess what the next 5 years are going to be like. Just look at the last 5, because the next 5 are going to be just like the last 5, unless you make a change. Tomorrow, change it all, or change a little, or change something. It's choice time. You can do whatever you want, but it's nice to know that any day you wish, you can start the process of changing everything. Here's the last thing I'll leave you with. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room to be the most noticed. You don't have to promote yourself to be recognized. You don't have to beg for attention to receive it. All you have to do is become so excellent, so prepared, so valuable, that when you walk into any room, your presence speaks before your mouth opens. That's real power. That's real influence. That's what happens when you work harder on yourself than you do on anything else. Become so good they have no choice but to notice you. Not by being loud, not by being flashy, not by promoting yourself on every corner, but by being undeniable. By being so excellent at what you do that your results become your resume and your character becomes your reputation. The person you need to become is already inside you, waiting to be called upon. Your job, starting tonight, is to go to work on developing that person. And I promise you, when you do, the world won't just notice you, the world will come looking for you. Because the world is always looking for someone of excellence. Always. Make sure that someone is you. It's nice to know that any day you wish, you can change your whole life. Any day you wish, you can start becoming the person who cannot be ignored. The choice is yours. It's always been yours. Now go make it count.